everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Kat. I'm a wife, a homeschool mom, and an avid reader. For everyone else, welcome back. In the month of August, I had a very ambitious reading goal. Along with these 6 books, I also had at least 4 other audiobook or digital books that I wanted to read. So let's look through what I had and what I actually read. First up, with my reading, I was out of town for 2 weeks, out on the other coast and enjoying some time with my nieces and nephews. And I did not think about the difference between 1 kid and 5. And it makes a big difference in your energy levels, and I learned this the hard way. Also, something that kind of worked against me for the month of August was that usually we have the Orlean Magical Readathon going on during August. This year it got moved to September, and instead in August I participated in Mel Lenore Reed's Battleathon. While I had a lot of fun in Battleathon, I didn't have the same push that I have from Aurelian to read. And so that does affect it. So how much did I in fact read during the month of August? Well, I read 6 books, 1,874 pages, and I had an average of 4.42 for my ratings. Everything I read was fiction, which is not unusual for me. The one thing that my graph that you will see here is wrong on is how much of that was digital versus physical. It turned out to be about half and half there, because of those 6 books, 3 I read were ebooks and 3 were physical books. And with that, or a couple of them were also audiobooks that I followed along as I read. I did have a great reading month, and some of that is because I know what I like. And so almost all of my books were 4 stars or above. So let's jump into what I did read so that you can hear my thoughts on those books. Up first is The 13th Husband by Greer McAllister. I gave this 5 stars. It was an e-arc for me, but has since been released. It was published on August 6th. I really had a great time with it and learning about this real character, this real person in history. The 13th Husband does follow Amy Crocker, and she is this woman who just has this fantastical history. You look through her life and tragedy followed her everywhere she went. The premise of this story is that when Amy was 6 years old, she saw the Lady in White, which is a mythical creature that is a precursor to someone's death. Well, that night, Amy's father dies, and following through her life, we see man after man after man die in as Amy's growing up and going through her adult years. And there is one point in the book where she sees a mystic who tells her that her 13th husband will be the one who buries her. And as you're going through, there is kind of some discrepancies or seeming discrepancies. By the end of the book, everything is cleared up and you understand better what this mystic meant. I really enjoyed this book. One problem I had with this book was a me problem, not a problem with the actual book. And that was, it was so captivating that I did not feel comfortable pulling it up to read during the tiny snippets during the day while I was with my nieces and nephews, because I was worried that I would be drawn in and not want to come back up into the real world. Not once in this book does it seem to hit a slump. Every time that I put the book down, I wanted to immediately pick it back up. It was just time did not allow me to do so. The next book that I read during August was The Volcano Daughters by Gina Maria Barbera. This also was a historical fiction, and while some of the events around this book were true, we don't have an entirely clear picture of what was going on, because this book takes place in El Salvador and records were destroyed over time to protect the leaders in charge at this time. In this story, we meet 4 girls who are born on the side of the volcano, and they grow plants or grow crops there and sell them to the country to bring everything forward, or to supply the country with goods that were needed. I gave this book 4 stars, and the only thing that really brought this book down is if you are not somewhat fluent in Spanish slang, there's going to be a lot of words that you might need to look up. I read this book digitally, and so on my Kindle, I do have a translator, but this translator did not have all of the words or what the slang was. So it didn't always fit the context. So many times I had to pick up my phone and look up words. And as readers, we know the moment we pick up our phones, it is way too easy to get sucked into Instagram or any other social media. And so this pulled me out of the book a lot, which for me brought down the stars. One thing I will mention is this book is now released. It came out on September 20th, and I'm sorry, on August 20th. I had a great time with this book and learned so much. And I really think that if you enjoy learning about different cultures, that you should pick this one up. Up next, I read The Silent Patient by Alex McLades. In this, it is a thriller, so I'm going to try to only give you the pertinent details. And that is, a woman is found in the room with her murdered husband, shotgun nearby her, and refuses to speak. The events continue, or the prologue basically continues, and we find out that she has been convicted of his murder because she won't deny that she did it. Not only will she not deny it, she won't say anything at all. The only thing she has done is she has painted one final painting. And through this, we continue the story through the eyes of her psychologist. And his whole goal is to try to get her speaking. The only way that we get our main character's voice heard is through past diary entries leading up to her husband's murder. I really, really enjoyed this book. I gave it 5 stars and could not put it down. I did read this one on my Kindle along with the audio. The audio was amazing. So, of my reading, I mentioned I read 3 physical books and 3 digital. There were my 3 digital. I did read those back to back on my Kindle. Had a great time with those. But I also had a equally good time with my physical reads. There's just something about holding a book in your hand that I love. The first physical read I read during August was Christina Lauren's Tangled Up in You. This is part of the Meant to Be collection. Currently, there are 4 novels out in this collection that are written by different authors, and they're Disney fairy tale retellings. So, If the Shoe Fits was Cinderella. By the book, I believe, was Belle from Beauty and the Beast, and Kiss the Girl, Ariel from The Little Mermaid, and then Tangled Up in You, which is Rapunzel's tale from the movie Tangled. I had such a great time with this. This story is following Rin, who, unlike Rapunzel, who was locked up in a tower, Rin has lived her entire life off the grid. She lives in a small rural area in Idaho. They have a farm and they are 100% homesteaders. Everything that they need, they trade with other farmers in the area if they do not grow it themselves. Well, Rin decides one day that she wants to go off to college. And her whole purpose for this is to better the homestead and plans on returning when the semester is done. In the meantime, once she gets to college, she meets a whole host of characters who are appalled that she's never even held an iPhone. In this, our male main character is Fitz, who represents Eugene in Tangled, and he is going to go on this cross-country trip with her to find information. He's going for an interview and she's going for other reasons that I won't spoil for you. But in this, we have lots of Easter eggs to the Tangled movie, and you'll just have to read it to find those out. One thing I will say is maybe because it's Disney retellings, you will not get the normal spice that many of us are used to from reading Christina Lauren's books. So, Tangled Up in You was a 4-star read for me, just because it missed the mark in some ways, but I continued slipping down on this next one. And my next book that I read was Olympus, Texas by Stacy Swan. In this, we meet the Briscoe family, who are archetypes of the Greek hero or Greek gods, Hades, Hera, and their children. And I don't know if it's because I am not as invested in Greek mythology, but this one fell a little flat for me. I only gave it 3 stars. Overall, I did have a good time, but it just didn't measure up to what I was expecting from this book. In this, we have March, the second born son, who left the town of Olympus kind of in shame because he had slept with his older brother's wife. But he comes back and after 2 years and tries to rebuild his life in Olympus, Texas. And things just continue on, and there's a lot of family drama in this. If you like family drama, if you like those drama shows, this one might hit home for you. It just missed the mark for me. My month ended on a high note, as I 100% expected from this book. The last book that I read during the month of August is The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer. This is for those readers who loved, I just went blank, C.S. Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia. And it is a grown-up tale for those adults who never stopped knocking on the backs of wardrobes just in case. Those are not my words. Those are almost exactly from the dust cover in the book. And those are the words that drew me in to wanting to read this story. In this story, we have 2 boys. We open the book with 2 boys, Jeffrey and Rafe, who, as teenagers, go off into the Red Crow State Forest in West Virginia and disappear. 6 months later, they return, and they do not look anything like 2 teenagers who have been wandering through the forest for 6 months. They are not starved. They are not, emaciated or anything. They are buff. They are nutritionally well nourished. The only thing is Rafe has forgotten everything from the time that, or from the day before the 2 boys disappeared until that whole 6 months is missing from his memory. Flash forward to 15 years later, and Jeremy and Rafe no longer are speaking, and Emily comes to them. She is a vet tech in search of her older sister, who went missing a couple years before Jeremy and Reeve disappeared in the forest. And she went missing in the same forest. And so Emily is hoping that Jeffrey and Rafe can help her find her sister. This was such a sweet tale. It lived up 100% to all my expectations. There is a magical world. There is, that doorway into another place. I had so much fun with this. And after finishing this book, I am definitely thinking that there might be a sequel. And I can't wait to see what Meg Schaefer brings us. So as you can see, it's a much smaller stack than I was planning on my August reading to be, but I also am very lucky that many of the books that I was looking forward to reading in August fit into prompts for my September reading, so I am still planning on getting to most of those. I hope your August reading went better than mine did, and that you got to read everything that you wanted to read for August. Let me know in the comments if you have a recommendation for any book, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.